So welcome, I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium and a Taino Airwalk. I've had my school, the Ivy League Psychic Academy, for about 9 years, where I've been training people in psychic mediumship. And based on those trainings, we've had a lot of other classes that have been opened up to the general public and help people in their everyday lives. So you do not have to be a psychic medium in order to utilize this information for your highest and best good and prosperity. And today what we're talking about is how to check your ego in Lightwork and beyond. So in your everyday life, is it possible that you have ego issues that are blocking you from health, from positive relationships, from your prosperity, from your own individual growth and development? We're going to look at that, but we're also going to switch back and forth in between what I'm saying for the general public and what I'm saying to people who work in light work, and how this can help you to stay on board. Having ego issues is the number one biggest downfall that I see in the lightworking community, costing us lightworkers every day and rapidly. So if we can get this in check, we can get this in order, we're going to keep our light workers. They're going to stay on board longer. They're going to get stronger and have a bigger outreach. So this is for you. If you're a healer, a reader, in your spiritual journey, wherever you are, okay, we want you to stay on board. So I want to say this really quickly before I get into the curriculum. Spirit was just impressing this upon me before I came downstairs to do this. I think that one of the biggest issues we have in regards to being a light worker and being under-identified, making us feel disrespected, putting us in a position where we're seedy or, hokey or dark arts. One of the biggest issues is with the title itself. I don't care for the word psychic because this to me cheapens what I do. However, where we are in the world right now, we don't have a lot of other options, because if you want to be out there doing the work, people have to be able to find you. People have to be able to identify what the heck you're going to offer as a service. So I feel very trapped by that title. And I know that many of my students do as well. We were once considered highly valuable members of society, of the church, of your community. If we were to look at this from a tribal perspective, we would have been considered the healer, the shaman, the seer. There are many, many tribal communities that put this particular ability, this intuitive intelligence, this ability to channel up on a pedestal and understand that the wisdom that the seer gives is of highest value and is taken into consideration with all types of decision making, for the tribe, for the community. And they look to younger generations who have the ability, and they want them trained up as quickly as possible under the seer, the elder, the shaman of the tribe. In the Old Testament, we would have been considered prophets. The seers, the prophets, were of utmost value to the community, to the church. And we still have many churches today, and they're multiplying quickly, that bring in a seer, a prophet, once a month to give messages, to the congregation about the direction of their light work, the direction of their life fulfillment. However, when we go out into everyday mainstream society, we're considered fortune tellers and, crystal ball readers, and it's, we're forced, if we want to run an ad in a newspaper, to pay extra money to have in bold print at the bottom of our advertisement for entertainment purposes only. Things like this are so limiting to where we actually belong and to our actual value. So remember that straight out of the gate, we're mislabeled. And I believe that everything I do and everything I train my students to do is prophecy. It is coming from the light. However, do we have a lot of supposed light workers out there that are not at all coming from the light? Absolutely. And we're going to start breaking down why that happens. It's based on ego. So let's take a look at this. How can your ego come in and rob you of your abilities, your potential and prosperity? Number one, you will lose the anointing of God's gift on your life. So you came to earth with certain gifts, certain abilities. It could be anything from being an artist to being a speaker, to being a church leader, to building cars. I mean, it could be anything. Now you have an anointing in that area, which means that the universe is supporting you. God is supporting you. But as soon as you start to tip from having faith and love and working in the light with that gift, you start to tip to the dark and you feed that negative energy. You lose that anointing that is on you from God, from the universe. What areas do we risk losing the anointing? Well, we have a couple different ones. I'm going to break them down individually, but here they are. Greed, vanity, power, impatience, jealousy, control, and I have superiority here, which could technically fall into a couple of those other categories, I guess. Okay, so let's talk about this. And this applies to your relationships. This applies to your own self-image. This applies to how you interact with the world around you, your work, your light work, anything, okay? When we get greedy, when we turn toward greed, wanting more, demanding more, what we have essentially said is that whatever we came to earth to do, to be of service to others, this gift that we have, this innate ability that we have that's different from what a lot of other people have, we have decided that that in itself is not enough. We want more, more, more. And you start demanding either higher pay, you start cheating others to get money, you start stealing from others to get that. You're just never satisfied with what you have in your life. You have a lack of gratitude, no attitude of gratitude. It's these people that are always dissatisfied. Well, I should be here. Well, I should have more. Well, I should have gotten further. Well, I should have a bigger house. Well, I should have better cars. Well, I should have. When we are authentically living with an attitude of gratitude for what we have gotten in receipt, in reciprocity, okay, as pay from our gift, whether, again, you're a mechanic, you're an artist, you're a healer, you're a hairdresser, whatever. When we're living within an attitude of gratitude for that, it is always enough. Because the only thing that comes back to you, with everything that comes back, it's not just about money. It's not just the monetary or materialistic value. It's about networking opportunities. It's about your health. It's about your level of energy and joy. It's about being able to help others and live in community. There's so much more there than just the payment or the title itself. And we lose sight of that, we quickly start to go downhill. For those of you that are working in light work, here's your biggest mistake right out of the gate. I have always said there isn't a student that walks through my door where I don't say this straight away. Class number one, what we do here at the Academy is light work first, business second. That means that when we all went into quarantine, I didn't hoard all of this wisdom. I didn't hoard all of this information and say, well, they're going to have to pay me for these classes. I said, this is an opportunity to keep people engaged, to keep people evolving while we're in a key time of opportunity. Okay, this is a way to help people, to get them to stay on a positive path, and I'm going to do this once a week. I am always willing to do light work first and receive payment later. So people will typically go into light work, label it as light work, because there's a lot of money to be made in it right now. The majority of light workers out there are frauds. They didn't go in it because they were called. They didn't go in it because it's part of their life contract. They didn't go in it because Spirit led them there. They went into it for business. A lot of them have business training, or they've gotten some degree in supernatural, whatever. So they know how to market it, because right now we're going through the awakening in the world. So that's fine. Maybe they'll make a business out of it, but you should never confuse the two. And you can always tell when someone's out there to make a buck. Here's another big problem. And I see this sadly with some of my students who graduate and turn toward the dark instead of the light. It's not from lack of coaching, but they will not let go of their egos. They want to, here's a good example. I recently had a Reiki student who had graduated and went and worked with one of our other students. And she tried to upsell her a whole package after the Reiki session. Okay, Reiki is a light touch energy that brings healing to your body, your emotions, your mental state. This student tried to tell her at the end of the session, she said, oh, you're going to need a whole package. You're going to need to see me once a week for a really long time. Your life is in such shambles right now. What a scam. Okay? She will not be representing the Academy at any more of our fairs and events. But the bottom line is this. Did that girl have an ability? Yeah, she had an ability. When she first came in, she was channeling beautifully. Did she turn to greed to get more money, to get people to sign on to bigger things, to create self-fulfilling prophecies within her clients, that she would even say something that negative and make them worry about their health instead of receive the healing? And she no longer seems to have any ability. Her business has dried up. She's fallen off the map. And, she's sitting there in a timeout having to think about herself. But will she? It's doubtful. So this is a great example of how we turn toward greed, and then we want to blame the universe for not giving us enough, or people not giving us enough. Another one is vanity. Vanity. Okay, here's the issue here. Okay, we are always supposed to take our abilities and what we do with our work every day and to say, I am doing this for the greater good. That would be the best way for you to live. I am doing this with the grace of God. Without God and the support of the universe, I'm not able to do anything very well or take it very far at all. But too many people don't want to give any credit back to the universe. They come from a place of ego and they say, well, I built this thing. Well, I made this happen. Well, I'm really good at this. If you are constantly looking for credit, or you're super needy and you always need validation, you're going to cut the universe out of that equation. You're going to cut spirit and your ancestors out of that equation. You're going to cut God out of that equation. And you're going to say, it's all me all the time. And that is certainly not the case. So once that anointing is lifted off of you, you're left with nothing but this somewhat ability. That's why your prosperity is drying up. Okay? They don't want to give the glory back to God. They just won't. This is the most horrible mistake you can make with a brief career in light work, okay? And this is what I see people doing, is that they start off humble, but their vanity kicks in and they want all of the recognition. Okay, one of the things that you can remember if you are a light worker is that your client didn't come to see you. They came because you were supposed to channel that universal wisdom, that God energy, that healing power. That's all you are. You're an open vessel. Every human being is. You're also not special. It's not a gift. It's an ability that everyone has. But if you've decided to utilize it, open yourself up to doing it, don't forget, without spirit channeling through you, you're nothing. You have nothing. All the glory needs to go back to spirit at all times. Your client who came to talk to their deceased loved ones didn't come to see you. They came to see their deceased loved ones. Those spirits, the deceased that showed up, didn't come for you. They came to talk to the sitter. Okay? All of this can dry up. And readers that were once doing really well, or healers that were once doing really well, you won't feel anything when they heal you anymore at some point. Now, granted, you always want to check yourself because that could mean that you've been cut off. But it is also possible that they're not being used by the light anymore. And that will often happen when there is a vanity issue. Therefore, that medium is left only communicating with spirits from dark energy. And that is where things get very, very dangerous. Let's talk about power. Okay, power. How could you lose the anointing because you're being a power monger? How about, I have lawyers on the case all the time now. I've had 12 different sets of students come in and steal my curriculum, quit their day jobs, and go off and open psychic schools. They were just in here a couple months ago. I have one that finished level 1, didn't even finish the level 2 program, and stole the curriculum and is out there teaching it right now. I always get a front row seat to the karma show, so I like to watch how these things play out. But I have had to instill no competes and get lawyers involved because of this. Now, what that's saying is that they had zero calling to actually teach this because they would have already had their own curriculum. Spirit will give you what you need. But if you are a power monger, if you are an egomaniac, you will take what you need to create that money, to create that following, to create that false sense of power. And I assure you, there is no anointing within that at all. So the power, where does the power come from? It comes from faking it. That's where it comes from. And those that are having to fake it in light work are tapping into the dark energy, which could fraudulently be twisted to make it look like mediumship because the psychic ability does not disappear. Okay. So it would be the same way that maybe a leader, a pastor of a church was once doing really great, but then maybe he started living immorally and unethically and was feeding all of this dark energy in his personal life. And all of a sudden he loses that anointing to come in and feed the congregation. His ministry is drying up. So he starts turning toward fake power. Where do we get fake power? The dark. The dark. He is now using his gift, which isn't going to go away. So people can use their psychic ability. That's a gift, right? It's not going to go away, but it does not have the anointing from the light. Therefore, they're tapping into dark energy. So you could see an entire church, an entire congregation of people that were once in there for good purposes, or a psychic medium who once had a great following of people turn completely dark. And everyone is infected by that madness, by that darkness, because somebody, the leader, became a power monger. Okay, we see this a lot with, I will even say this, I've seen it with some students. They rarely pass the curriculum if they show signs of this early, but it's with everybody, every day. Think of the people you work with in your office. Think of family members, in-laws. Think of those people that always have to have eyes on them. They want that wow factor. They want to be the center of attention. That's a power grab. Okay. In classes, we'll see it when certain students will say, I go around and I say to my students, I'll say, what do you want to give to your clients? What's in your heart? What has Spirit shown you that you're here to give to them for their healing? And I get great answers. 99% of the time, great answers. Thoughtful answers, genuine, light-working type of answers. But sometimes I get this clown who says, I want them to say, wow. And I said, what is wow exactly? Well, they think that whatever I said really blew them away. I said, oh, so you just want to feed your ego. So you're just here to be put up on stage. No. Okay, so how many people around you are just looking for that wow factor in their lives? They're feeding the ego, and it's a power grab. And it's so sad to watch in work situations how they get promoted and promoted and promoted and promoted and promoted, right? So it's probably your boss. It's probably the new manager who came in to revise the whole place. And you're like, I got to get out of here. I got to jump ship. It will take a toll on your energy. So protect yourself. But do not become that. Okay? Stand against that. You will not turn toward ego to fight it. You will stay in love and peace and faith. That's where you need to stay. And love always wins, ultimately. Okay, we have another one, impatience. Okay, so pushing for too much too soon. Here's another great example. I get a lot of students who come in who would rip off my curriculum and claim that they designed it? Someone who wants too much too soon. Or, yes, someone who is exclusively working with the dark and looking to con people, but also people who aren't necessarily ready, okay? Often we get put in situations where our character is being refined. We have to go through the fire. We have to be pruned. We have to be polished. A lot of times you have a burning desire to do something with your life, and you have a great vision of that, but you're not ready yet. You're just not. And that's okay. Wherever you are, maybe you're not meant to be at the head yet. Maybe for a while, you need to study those that are. You need to focus on your personal life, your self-development and growth, your spiritual development. Work with your guides. What is Spirit saying to you all the time? It could be a decade or more before you get there. But if you really want to speed up the process, do self-work while you're waiting for that position. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing about the impatience, okay? The story of how Jesus went out at 12 years old and was like, I'm ready to get about my Father's work. I have to start my ministry. And his parents were like, get back to your room. And he literally ran off and didn't go home with them. They had to go back and find him in town, brought him home, and he stayed there for 18 years, growing and developing, okay? So we also have jealousy, which is similar to the vanity issue, but I think darker than the vanity issue. I see far more people fall from the light because of jealousy than I do greed or vanity. Take it easy with the jealousy. Stop comparing yourself, right? I'm like a 160-pound girl. I'm 5'4", and I'm Puerto Rican, so I've got plenty of curves. I would never be foolish enough to open up the Victoria's Secret magazine and to sit there and to hope I could ever fit or look like any of these girls or into those products. Don't be foolish and stop comparing yourself to everybody else. This quickly feeds into the greed aspect, and you will turn toward dark energy and start expecting the devil to give you what you're demanding from that dark place. In that dark place is also a lack of confidence. It's getting eaten away at, eaten away at, eaten away at. You may have come in and you may have said, I feel pretty good about myself entering into this situation. And the minute you start comparing, you end up smaller and smaller and smaller, angrier and angrier. And the anointing will be taken off of you. So do not compare. If you are in light work, don't compare to your fellow students. Don't compare to other workers in the field, whether they're gurus or they just have more clients. That is not your gig. It is never about competition. And in light work, there is more than enough for everybody. Look at the condition of the world. If you find yourself doing this regularly, getting jealous, you may not actually be called into doing light work. I don't know any genuine light worker who isn't swamped with the amount of work given to them, who doesn't see how dire the world is right now, and know that they will be doing this until their last breath, full to capacity. If you're not seeing that, maybe this isn't your calling. Go back to the drawing board, talk to your guides, and find out what is. But if you're ever doing that in any area of your life, whatever your career is, you're competing, or even if you have children and maybe you're competing with your ex-spouse or something like this, competing, something there is off kilter. And you have forgotten your true place and position in this. Get back to your roots. Get back to love, to a sense of peace. Control next. Okay, here's a good area that is really, really visible to, you know, the outsider. Everyone can see when someone is extraordinarily controlling and coming from a place of ego versus a place of their gift or a place of anointing. So this control, if you're in light work, can come from lying. We will see narcissists, sociopaths, people in any situation in your life that you could look at where they can't control things, so they start to lie or thieve or manipulate circumstances, right? Narcissistic, sometimes even sociopathic, in order to get that control. Where we would see it in light work is if you are always towing the line in your readings or your healings, telling people what they want to hear. Rainbows and butterflies. Reading them telepathically and then telling them what they want to hear versus getting the information and channeling it directly from spirit and telling them what is for their highest and best good. There is a huge difference. I always say that I can look at supposed light workers out there and I can tell exactly who they are based on their client base. The darkest ones, the biggest fakes and phonies, the biggest egomaniacs and narcissists are those who have a client base that is rampant with mental illness. Okay? These are sheep that follow them because they're being manipulated. If you're in light work, healing or giving readings, you are to channel the information from the light for the sitter's highest and best good and give that without fault, without apology. Okay? You want to state it and remove yourself from it because it didn't come from you. Don't get your ego and your identity involved in it. Do not feed the humans. It is not customer service first, light work second. It is light work first, business second. So this is a major problem, is that honesty for a lot of people has gone out the window. Okay, we could compare this to politics and a lot of other things right now. I won't go there, but you could fill in the blanks. Okay, who has decided to take control instead of being honest, stating the facts? Okay, that's a power grab. That's an ego problem, narcissistic, sociopathic tendencies. Superiority, a sense of not being part of the community, not being one, not being humble enough to be with your fellow humans, with the earth, with the environment, with the animals, with spirit, and to say that you're a part of that you're living as part of that community, here to be of service and offer, yes, your gifts, offer them, but with the anointing of God and the universe being on them. That would come out in a lot of different behaviors where people say, well, I can't do that. Well, I won't reduce myself to that. A lot of people right now are being knocked down. How many people are waiting in food lines in their vehicles overnight to get a box of food for their families that's going to last 2 days? And they are humbled. They are saying, I have never had to do this before. Okay. These are opportunities. Opportunities are around us on a daily basis to humble ourselves. But watch out for that sense of superiority. Watch out that you're not always only collecting cash for the services that you offer. You're a mechanic, okay? You work in construction. You're a nurse or a pharmacist. You work in the metro system. You work wherever you work. You're a light worker. You're a psychic. You're a medium. You're a healer. Whatever you do, how can you be of service sometimes? It's important that you eat. You should be collecting that money. Don't ever let anybody tell you that you should be working for free. That's crazy. You have a responsibility to yourself and your family, but when can you be of service to others without any thought toward what you're going to get back, toward that reciprocity, any thought toward payment, doing it from a place of unconditional love? Not all the time, but some of the time. This is another area where I see light workers fall. It's always about that cash. Okay. But people do it in general. If you are a multi-billion-dollar company, what are you giving back? What are you giving back without maybe, huge tax breaks and things like that? What are you actually giving back? People lose sight of it. They have a sense of superiority. So here's number 2. Okay. Another area where you could give in to ego and stop using your gifts, your abilities, and being of service to others. You lose that ability to be humble, is in the area of stress. So we don't tend to think of this as being an ego problem because everybody is stressed, right? In the history of the world, I think any psychologist or doctor, scientist would tell you, we've never seen anything like this. I mean, the stress levels are absolutely through the roof. And there is no amount of therapy that's going to fix it. There are no medications that are just going to fix it for you. You have to energetically go in and fix it yourself. And at the root of the problem is ego. What is ego? Ego is fear. Ego is control. Ego is demanding that you be in a position of power all the time. It's feeding dark energy unwittingly, often, okay? It is the opposite of living in love and faith and trusting that things will work out. Being in the here and now creates patience. I love the saying that if you're living in the past because you feel heavy and depressed and exhausted. And if you're living in the future because you feel anxious and nervous and controlling. But when you're present, when you're in the here and now, when you're rooted and grounded, you feel at peace. Now that doesn't change your circumstances, but you're able to cope. And this is how we need to handle our stress. We have a training up on, I have a whole website for it. I have like 7 trainings for it. It's called Empathic Awareness. So you can go to ivyRiveraEmpathicEducator.com, okay, to help you to learn those tools more in depth. We're not going to cover it here, but I will say this. Who falls from light work? Who falls from being in good relationships? Who falls from being in a good position with their community or even within your job? People who are stressed, disgusted with others, hating the public. They have a bitterness and a lack of forgiveness in their heart. They can't stand what is happening around them all the time. I get it. Okay. People's behavior is disgusting. It is easy to hate the public. Very easy. A little too easy. And because so many of them are coming from a place of ego, which ultimately leads to things like, the emotion of a 5-year-old, temper tantrums, mental illness, possession, attachment issues, paranormal problems. They're disgusting to be around. Absolutely disgusting. They take no ownership of their energy. But again, you are not to become that and mirror that. You are to hold your own at all times. Stay in love versus ego. If you're a light worker, you may find that people want to test you. Okay, say you're a new psychic medium or an old psychic medium, and you're sick of hearing it all the time. People don't want to pay you. Here are a couple easy trigger points. People say, well, if you have this gift from God, then why should I pay you anything? Because God didn't tell me I wasn't ever allowed to eat or pay my bills or take care of my children. And because you have a gift, maybe with science, and so you chose to become a nurse, and would you be doing that for free? Okay, there's no way to come up to a light worker and say, you shouldn't be collecting any cash for this. It is a huge myth, but it is a serious offense when it happens day after day, year after year. And you can't take that personally. You have to look at the individual and detach and say, this person is malfunctioning in their life. They have been cut off from the light. They must have no real, genuine prosperity. They are completely coming from a place of fear and ego and control, manipulation, narcissism, and you detach. Don't let it become a personal offense. People will lie to you. They will demand more of you. Now, this could be your bosses, or if you're a reader, this could be your sitter. demanding more from spirit, demanding more from your energy, giving you work to take home, stacking more on top of your to-do list already, but not offering you more pay. Right now, a lot of people are dealing with this. They have to learn all this new technology and they're not feeling very appreciated. This is a wake-up call about who you're actually working under. They will lie to you. They will promise you a promotion and then take it away and give it to the other guy. Okay? They'll promise you a raise and then pull it out from under you. You may even get fired because they could bring someone in to do the same thing even though you've been dedicated for 20 years, but they could pay them less. Okay? We see this with our sitters lying to us. You know, we channel someone and they say, well, I don't know who that is, or I don't understand any of this. They have a general lack of gratitude and respect toward you. Don't let it get to you, please. It's insulting. Okay, no doubt about it. Take a step away if you need to, but make sure that you're never living in a space where that's constantly going on and you're feeling it to the core of your being and being depleted of your positive energy. Get your upper hand back on that situation. Let's talk about how that level of stress and disgust and hatred of the public leads to bitterness in the heart. Unforgiveness. Now, biblically, this is the number one block to your prayers being answered. From an energetic scientific level, we're talking about law of attraction and energy and like attracts like. This is the number one block to you manifesting what you want to have. We cannot have bitterness and unforgiveness in our hearts. I may do a separate mini class on this. I don't know, but we have relationships, boundaries, and cord cutting class up on the website, where I teach you forgiveness exercises, cleansing exercises. You can cord cut from anything negative in your life. Learn how to do this. Because what this does, if you leave it there, it not only blocks up your prosperity, that's a given. It is blocking your ability to show unconditional love to the world around you. How to show unconditional love to yourself, because you're even at that point so disrespected, you're self-loathing. We need to have unconditional love at the forefront at all times. Okay, a third category where we could see that you have already been feeding a lot of ego and it has now gotten out of control. Okay, you could just title this one Paranormal Problems. Now, in Lightwork, you're a reader, you're a healer, we would see this as a total lack of discernment. And you might want to very carefully check your healers and readers. Are you sure that they're channeling from the light to give you supposed healing? Be very careful. They could be very accurate in what they say because that only comes from psychic ability. Again, it could still be there, but isn't anointed. Oh my God. Okay, this is like so crazy dangerous. So make sure that whoever is giving you the healing is actually doing so. If they have a lack of discernment, they're channeling dark energies to get the job done and to make it look like they're actually working from the light. Okay, we would see this with readers or healers that are improperly trained. We would see that, the accuracy might still be there, but they tend to lean more toward one negative message after another negative message after another negative message. You might walk out of there actually feeling quite depleted, or like all they had for you was bad news and then they channeled grandma and you're like, oh, I hope all this stuff doesn't happen. Okay, they convince you have more problems than what you do. They steer you in the wrong direction. Maybe you're looking to get rid of a property and that's the absolute right thing to do. And they're telling you, no, hold on to it and fight. I mean, you got to be careful, okay? They will take you down. Don't forget that any channeling, okay, is not necessarily good channeling. Only good channeling is good channeling. We would see possessions and attachments on people. Now, for those of you that are stuck in the quarantine, and that's probably, I think at this point, the majority of the country and the world, I think we're at 65% or something like that. So, if you're in the quarantine, you would be seeing this more than ever. If you have people living in your house that are not working primarily from the light. Now, this can happen if they're feeding ego on the regular. But ultimately, when someone starts feeding ego for a long period of time, they turn toward other dark outlets. That could be drinking, that could be drug use, that could be anger and violence, that could be porn addiction, that could be video game addiction. I mean, it could literally go in any overeating, overconsumption, greed, whatever it is. So when we see ego get to this point, we can usually see the attachment on the person. Now, for those of you that are in light work, you're going to see this as a black mass over one of their shoulders, over their head, following along behind them. By the time it gets to a point of actual possession, because not every attachment wants to be a possession, but if it does get to the point of a possession, it would smell foul, like rotten meat, or you might smell fire or smoke. And you would literally, like, the hair on the back of your neck would stand up, or the back of your neck will burn up into your head. You may not be able to hear them anymore when that individual talks. It's like, wah, 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 wah. You are literally energetically pulling away from them. You may have a stabbing in the side of your temple, a twisting in the stomach or the guts. And it's a real physical discomfort in addition to the mental discord, and an emotional sense of sadness, depressiveness, or anxiety. Like, I cannot be near this person. So there's a lot going on there when someone develops an attachment, or even worse, a full-on possession, or if just even the paranormal activity is kicking up, okay? So again, check out that cleansing video that I put up. We have a class too, hauntings, clearings, and detachments, what to do with it, or book a paranormal consultation with me. But if you're living in close proximity to someone who has this going on, I'm telling you, it's going to be difficult for you as well, because this energy is contagious. It has to be cleansed and blocked. So you do ultimately always have control over it, but you have to be diligent about keeping it out. Okay, so ego issues aren't just like, oh, that person has a chip on their shoulder, they're a real jerk. It goes way beyond this, and it becomes far more dangerous eventually than you would ever think for it to be. Okay. If you are going to a dark arts reader or healer and they're masked as working in the light, guess who gets to take the attachment home with them? Okay, you and your kids. I had a great example here about people working in this field who aren't in it as light workers. They weren't called to do it, I don't believe, or they've lost the anointing, but they continue to do it. And I've seen some crazy things. I mean, crazy, that people are willing to tell the public. But one of the nuttiest things I had seen when I first came out doing this for the public was a tarot reader who was always working in a bar. And, anywhere he went, he had to be in that type of an atmosphere, which is a really toxic kind of atmosphere. It would take a particular kind of person to be able to channel the negativity that comes along with a bar on a regular basis and exclusively, okay? Which was interesting straight out of the gate. But I eventually was talking to this reader and I said, where do you get your information? And he said to me, oh, I'm channeling. And I said, no, I noticed that you were channeling because I see you flipping the cards and then listening in your head. I said, I see that you're channeling. Where do you think you're getting that information? And I'm not trying to pass judgment on him. I'm just trying to study the situation a little bit. And he said, honestly, I don't know, but there has been this woman who follows me. She's been with me since I was a kid. And she tells me everything to say to people. That just this one person. And I said, well, do you communicate with guides, or do you ever, channel God? Well, I don't believe in God. Well, do you ever channel, maybe angels or other deceased loved ones or anything like that? Nope, just this lady. I'm warning you right now. If you are channeling exclusively one entity at all times, and you're giving toxic, even if it's accurate, information to your people, and you're comfortable in filth, you're comfortable in bars, you're comfortable in negative, toxic, paranormal energy, you got a problem, okay? So we need to be careful about things like this. I will say this too, if you're a new channeler, a new light worker, a new healer, be very careful that you're working on discernment, because the majority of trainings out there internationally do not speak on discernment. They actually do not believe that there's dark energy. So you had better be careful. New readers tend to have zero concept of discernment and will not know the difference. Whether they're channeling an earthbound spirit, a negative entity from the dark, or a spirit from the light, they tend to not know the difference. I witness this every single day in training new people. Okay, be careful. Now, what do? You know, if you have a loved one who is feeding dark energy and now has brought in paranormal problems because they are drinking, there's drug use, there's aggression, they have ego problems, now they're showing mental instability and all of this. Talk to them frankly about it. Get them the video download. Try to get them help, but you cannot force it. You cannot get sucked down with it by crossing boundaries that are inappropriate. You are only called to do so much with or for that individual, and you had better stay in alignment with what your calling is, or you will have karmic kickback. Okay, it's sort of like saying you can lead a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink, even if it's your kid. That is a fact. So be careful and protect your own energy. Again, we are not going to mirror that toxicity. We are going to come from a place of love and faith, and we're going to be fearless as we go forward.
Pam was wondering, how do you know if you're a light worker?
So we did another show on that. It's called Are You a Psychic, a Medium, or an Empath? And so you might want to go back and watch that. But we were actually thinking of doing another one because we actually did two and they were huge hits. So maybe I'll bring that back. But how do you know if you're a light worker? You have to know what's within your life contract. If you don't know your life contract, get a life contract reading with me or sit with your guides. You're going to need to know what you came to Earth to do. And it doesn't necessarily mean that your life contract is exclusively light work. It could actually be some more conventional type of a career or a job or a training that allows you to sort of do the light work through other outlets, and it can become a full-on light work position in your contract. But essentially, you know, if you were maybe born into a family that was abusive, neglectful, maybe you had an alcoholic parent, maybe you were born with disabilities or significant hardships. Most light workers are born into a situation that is tough right out of the gate. Light workers are also old souls. So if we were to look at your past lives, we would be able to see 3 or more past lives where you did light work in those situations, either for a religious order or possibly as like a shaman within a tribe, or there are a million different examples, but you would have it built up in your past. So you don't just sort of pop out of the box that way. So people aren't just like born into light work. It builds from the past in significant major ways. And then you come here, you're usually born into some trial and hardship. You have a sense of isolation, but also an overwhelming sense that you are one in connectedness to the world. And you're always put in situations where people are needing your healing, even if you don't want to. Okay, you cannot escape it. It's a calling. And you would notice that you have a ministry. Not trying to have a ministry, but you have a ministry. A following of people or situations that require your healing at all times. Yeah, it's innate. So I want to talk about category number 4, the last category, and then I'm going to talk about what you could do about all this. And then we'll take more questions if there are any, okay? So with the 4th category here, I want you guys to look at different ways that you have to fight the dark. And I'm going to recommend a video that's up here on YouTube. Maybe Paul can put it in the comments. I don't know if you're able to do that or not, but
Try.
Put it in the search bar there. Put in Fighting the Dark. It's a video I did a while ago. It's 48 minutes long. It's sort of like the first free mini class I ever did. And that trains you in how to decipher the 5 different ways that dark energy or your own self or the universe testing you will come in and try to prevent you or test you right before you're ready to level up. This is really a big downfall for people, because people don't like to be made uncomfortable. We certainly don't like to be made uncomfortable for extended periods of time. And we have a lot of trouble with patience. Okay, this has to be like my biggest issue in life. We have trouble with patience. And what can happen while you're waiting, okay, for your promotion or you've worked really hard and you're about to get a promotion and you go through a testing period right before you have it. It's right there. Okay, it's within arm's reach. You have the light at the end of the tunnel. You are almost to the top of the mountain. And then you go through this elongated period of distress, holding it away from you. It's like an apple. Jump for the apple, jump for the apple. That is a given. This is a science. It is like clockwork. I can tell you that this is going to happen. And there are a couple interesting ways that you get attacked during that time. So watch that Fighting the Dark video. What you don't want to do during that time is to start feeding your ego. Nothing can halt the progress more. Nothing can strip away all the ground that you laid. Okay, nothing can make you go dark when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel faster than turning toward ego at a time of accomplishment. So it's like saying new level, new devil, or every time the bus stops, somebody's got to get off. Because what goes on during this process is also a detoxing period, which means that before you can have any real growth in your life, you have to let go of anything that's been holding you back. When I do life contract readings for people, we talk about pivotal points, key years where you can advance, but the 2 years leading up to them are detoxing years. So most people won't. They don't want to lose a love partner. They don't want to lose a spouse. They don't want to have to detach from family members or old friends. They don't want to lose a job or a career or make changes. We get too stagnant and rigid in our ways, and we become unwilling to really become the butterfly, to come out of the pupa stage and grow and evolve. And you have to be willing to let go of a lot of things. So you could be attacked at different levels in your life, and it's actually good. You're in the process of evolving, but we don't like the way it feels, okay? Remember that your emotions are fickle. Remember that your emotions do not necessarily match the truth and wisdom of the universe, that they are usually the polar opposite of that, okay? Think of all the toxic relationships you had in your past. How many times did you listen to your heart and fall in love with some dum-dum that really shouldn't have been there for more than 3 weeks? How much time did you waste on that? Think of all the times you gave into your emotions when you should not have. Well, it's exactly like this. So your intuitive intelligence holds truth. Energy doesn't lie. That has a sense of peace and assuredness in it and accuracy. Okay, but your emotions won't. And often your logic will actually match your intuition, but you don't want to go too logical either. So right about there, when you're about to level up, get some kind of major promotion in your life, evolve somehow, we get conflicted and we give in to the fear, to the emotion. So that video will help you. Okay, ultimately at the core of all of that, you know, we don't like to have to do anything from a place of faith. We just don't. We've learned to rely on ourselves, and that's ego. And if you could trust and step out in blind faith that God and the universe has you and that it's coming, and be patient, just keep doing what you're supposed to do, then we will be able to have that prosperity. But we don't like blind faith. We don't like to ever especially step out in blind faith without knowing what the next step will be. What's the biggest game plan here? What's the whole path? You don't get to see the whole path. I don't make the rules. That's life. That's the universe. You take one step out in blind faith and then the next one lights up. But it doesn't go in reverse. Okay, you're not going to know. So don't buckle under the pressure. The pressure is an illusion. A lot of people give in to things like gossip and getting tied up in other people's business, okay? Nose to the grind and stay in your lane. Forget what everybody else is doing. Don't start feeding dark energy right before you're about to level up and have some prosperity because you're now in a negative place and you feel you should have had it already. You earned it. You're right, you did. But don't start then creating toxic problems for other people or destroying your relationships. That's ego. Very common to see right around that time. For those of you that are light workers, you're a reader, you're a healer, whatever it is, understand this. It is a myth that you are attracting negative, toxic energy to yourself. It's a myth that it's a reflection of who you are. too many people who believe a little too much in what they think they know about law of attraction and manifestation, they're brainwashed. Okay, like a lot of these supposed light working gurus that say there is no dark energy, they're brainwashed. They're sheep. They should not be teaching anybody anything. There is dark energy in the universe. This is a war. This is a battleground here on Earth. And you as a light worker, you're at the front lines, which means every time you go out to fight the dark and heal people, you're under attack. Don't doubt it for a second, and do not internalize what they're saying to you. Right now, the biggest myth out there in light work is that if it's coming around you, it's a lesson you didn't learn, or you must be giving out toxic energy. It's a reflection of who you are. The only way it's a reflection is because you are the light, and the dark will always try to come and snuff that out. So you have to be prepared that this is never going to stop. It is a theme. It is not uncommon, whether you look at leaders in a religious community or in a tribe, okay, or you doing light work in today's modern world. The attacks are going to come from all different angles. And if you are doing something really great, approaching something really great, the attacks are going to increase. It's almost like fire, a flame on a stove. I just see the knob turning and the fire gets bigger. You're going to get attacked at night in your dreams. You're going to get attacked by those around you who are supposed to be loving and supporting you. It's going to come from places you never would have imagined. And you need to be on alert at all times. Okay? And try not to tire. We are all, every genuine light worker is dealing with the same thing. And if you're not, you may not be testing that boundary very hard. You may not be doing much healing at all. Okay, so very normal to see. I always look at people that are, supposedly working within the field, and they just never have a hardship. They just coast on through all the time. And they say things like that to people, oh, well, it must be, why are you attracting so much dark energy? And it's like, interesting. I know immediately, no matter how light they look, they're feeding the dark. If there is no competition, if there is no tension, then they're not testing any boundaries. Watch what's actually happening. Also, I want to say this to those of you who think, well, I'm just a regular person, or, this doesn't really full on apply to me. There isn't anyone here on earth that didn't come here with a ministry. There isn't anyone who didn't come to be of service to others. You're a human being, which means you're a channeler. Okay. Everyone's a medium. Everyone's a psychic. Everyone's a healer. But you have to take responsibility for that. You are here to live in community with others and the environment and the animals and spirit. This is what you do. And it shouldn't be seen as something you do as a job, right? Or as a hobby or as a side hustle. It's a fun gig. It's for entertainment purposes. This is your life. This is supposed to be a thought process that runs through you every day, the moment you wake up and throughout the day. Am I living in a place of love versus a place of ego? And am I being humble and of service versus coming from greed and fear? You need to keep this in check at all times. And it is contagious. Okay, it will radiate out to others around you. Okay, so that's just a little bit of what we talk about in the psychic mediumship training when we deal with discernment and ego and dark energy and how to combat it and feeding the light versus the dark. For bigger trainings, you guys might want to join the psychic mediumship course. But a quick rundown, okay? What can you do? What can you do? Number one, stay more connected to God, which equals love. Then you stay connected to your ego, which equals fear. Number two, what can you do? Be of service through unconditional love. Not for the public that you can't stand to look at anymore, but for God. You're of service for the light. They have nothing to do with it. Detach from the human beings. Okay? Be of service through unconditional love for God and the higher order, not for the individual. Think collective. Think collective, the whole universe, not just this person in front of you that you have to help, okay? It's easy when we want to, not so easy when we don't. And the more you do it, the more you're going to get tested and not want to. Number 3, use your common sense. And don't be brainwashed by supposed lightworking gurus or the church who tells you that doing lightwork is dark energy, or anywhere that feeds greed, ego, vanity, jealousy, like the TV. Okay? Watch out. Think. Analyze everything. Question everything that you see. Think for yourself. Use your common sense. Okay, I like to stop in any situation that starts to feel weird to me, or if I feel myself getting negative, and I go, whoa. What I'm thinking about right now, or the choice I'm about to make, is it coming from a place of fear, or is it coming from a place of love? And I immediately know what the right answer is. And I can stop something dead in its tracks right there. So can you. So can all of us. Okay. And number 4, don't be lazy. A lot of this that you're hearing today isn't anything new. It's something, maybe you haven't heard it before, but it's definitely something you've thought of before. Something you already know. But because we're lazy, we like to take the easy route. And typically the rest of society around us is feeding the wrong. They're sheep. The masses are doing the wrong thing, the egotistical thing. We don't like to put in the effort to go against the grain. Okay, but you're going to have to. I would also say this, be realistic of your calling. If you are thinking that you're a light worker and you're marketing yourself as a light worker, but you're really just in it for business, just be honest about your position. You're not here to heal anyone yet. You're probably still doing a lot of self-work, okay? Which means you run the risk of channeling the dark. Just be honest. You're here to sell crystals, okay? You're here to sell tarot cards. You're here to lead other people to the genuine light workers. Work within the system. Be honest, okay? Be realistic of your calling, whatever your position is in life. Don't force yourself to go to law school and, to have some image played out in your life when you honestly think you should go to nursing school, or you want to get into the holistic yoga movement or something, but you're not going to have that kind of vanity available to you. Be careful. Be realistic about what you were called to earth to do. Remember, you chose it. Okay, you did. You signed a contract before you came to earth. So we want to live within that contract, not beyond that. That's where trouble starts.
Says, at this moment of crisis, some light workers might feel as though they are not doing enough. When ego shows itself like this, how can we manage and handle this?
That's a great question. So as a light worker, you have to understand that there's one major myth that's been put on us and is still largely being put on us today internationally in trainings. And that is that remote work doesn't exist. Okay, we have a lot of people still thinking that if you're going to give a reading or a healing, you have to be face to face with the person. We have people who will tell us in paranormal, not that most of them know anything about this, but in paranormal, well, you have to have boots on the ground if you're going to go clear a paranormal problem. Not true. Not only is it not true, it's not safe. We have a lot of people who think that they can't receive a healing from a distance. Oh, well, if I can't go in and have my appointment, then it's not as good. It may be far, far more powerful than you've ever received with a light worker being there in person. So I would say that for all of you light workers that are feeling like right now you just can't do enough, don't let your ego get involved. First off, you go to your work guide and you say, show me what I'm meant to do today. Not once a week, every morning. Show me what I'm meant to do today. The second I wake up and put my feet on the ground, I say to Jesus and to my work guide, show me how I can be of service today. And as I'm making my coffee and I'm having my coffee, they show me what I'm supposed to say. They show me what I'm going to do. Now, none of that necessarily coordinates with money or getting paid. It's just stuff or people, situations that are going to cross my path and what I'm supposed to do. Do that stuff. Take those tidbits that you're given every day and remember that you did them day to day. Put those things up on a pedestal. okay, and make those things more important than the idea, the concept that you already have fixated in your mind of what success actually is, okay? It's an illusion the majority of the time anyways, but especially right now. And by all means, tap in to those remote opportunities to heal. Remote Reiki, we have remote readings, we have remote paranormal consultations and help. There are a million things that we can do. And if you aren't hired to do them, or you're not asked to come and join, a group to do them, watch throughout the day the things that Spirit puts on your path that you're supposed to catch in passing, and know that that is part of what you're called to do. So take those situations back later and send the positive energy to them remotely. Thanks so much.